Why are we called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we mistreated? Why are we in this condition? Stripped of our name, our language, our culture, our God, and our religion. Here in America, all of our religious training has been gotten by the preacher. He has told us of a heaven way up in the sky that we can't enjoy now, but rather after we die.
We're back.
Yeah, I haven't seen this in a while. Like,
I couldn't help myself. Can I say that again? We're back.
Oh, praises due to Allah. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. So welcome in, welcome in. Let's get everybody in. Let's get everybody back. We've had a long vacay, kind of sort of weird, like something like that. But anyway, greetings, good evening, assalamu alaikum to our Muslim friends and family. We're thankful to be back. We hope you enjoyed some of the replays that we had because we thought, they were important to reshare. Anytime we reshare anything or it's a holiday or something is happening that allows us to be able to replay something, it's just a very, very good thing. Either way, I am your sister Michelle. I'm your moderator for this evening, and I have the crew that is down to the one to my left. Sorry, to my left here, and then one down here.
I'm all the way down here.
There you go.
All right.
So we are here, but before we go any further, we always say, please like and share. Like and share. We want to make sure that all that we have to say tonight and the special guest that we have, that you all will have someone join in and so that you can benefit from the conversation. So I won't belabor the message, but again, like and share, like and share. And I just want to again thank everyone for coming and coming back and bringing people with you to see our wonderful show this evening. So before I keep going on and on, I am going to bring on Sister Kalila so she can, of course, give her little shout out, and then we're going to keep it moving to Brother Tony. So I pass the baton over to you, Sister Kalila.
Oh, thank you. I receive it.
There you go.
Y'all forgot what direction to go.
Listen, it's been a while.
Brother Tony, okay.
I want to first start in the most holy name of Allah, bearing witness that there is no God but Allah, Muhammad is his messenger. I would like to greet you all in the greeting words of peace in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. That just simply means peace be unto you. It's a prayer that never changes, but it also changes the understanding that we come in peace and we do not want any type of war unless we fight with those who fight with us.
That's right.
And this comes to a very critical time in our lives that we sometimes as women forsake ourselves for love, power, mistaken identity. I can say that. um, to where we go to the point where we are not ourselves because we are in the valence of someone else.
Come on, teach.
And we're going to learn today in regards to what that looks like as a abused woman, what that looks like in the scope of healing, and the spiritual ramification of what you should be always looking into in regards to healing. And that is God. And I want to, because I am a woman, right? So I'm definitely biased when it comes down to the crucifixion of the woman, because we are taught in our culture that 75% of the works is with the woman. That means that if we are the works and it's the majority of the works, then we can't be abused doing the work of God. So our sister, she's going to bring it home to us. She's going to give it a more healthy approach to how we should, as women, look at this and how we can get out of any type of situation that we feel like we're being abused from, and how we can actually surrender ourselves to the Creator and remove ourselves from anything that is not a part of God's creation. All right. And again, I'm not going to belabor the point myself. I'm going to pass the baton to my dear brother, Brother Tony. Easy baton
Right.
grab.
We're gonna do it like this. There we go. I forgot the direction too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me begin properly. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God, to whom holy praises are forever due, the Lord of the worlds, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, I am forever thankful to Almighty God Allah for his intervention in our affairs and for raising one from among us and showing his divine favor among black people here in North America, his divine favor of the aboriginal peoples of the earth. And we find that one that was raised, that is a representative of us, in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I thank them both for not leaving us alone and for continuing that mighty work of resurrecting the condition of our people, of liberating our minds as a people so that we can do our work in this hour, so that we could establish what is divinely ours. I thank Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their divine names, I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. Which when we greet one another in peace, that is the greatest greeting that we could greet one another in this hour. Because as Sister Kalila was alluding to and Sister Michelle was alluding to, we are not at peace right now. Right. And much of it has to do with the treatment of the woman. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has likened the mistreatment of the woman with the mistreatment of the earth. And so there is no coincidence that the condition of the earth is likened to the condition of the woman today. And so we as men and we as black men in particular, we must rise up and learn how to protect, defend, and honor our women. And so this topic tonight, the crucifixion of the black woman, how do we get her out of that condition and have her rise as she should be rising, as we are taught that there is, in truth, a nation rises no higher than its woman. We're going to discuss tonight exactly what that means and the type of work that our beloved sister, who will be introduced in just a moment, what it will require, at least part of the work, what it will require for us to come out of the collective condition that we are in. We want to thank our student regional minister, Student Minister Patrick Mohammed, for organizing the 7th Region Coalition to help save lives. We started this program and this initiative after the Criterion message on July 4th, 2020. We could say that that was the coalition's birth, as we have been guiding our people away from taking an experimental so-called inoculation that's supposed to benefit us. No, it is meant to kill us. And the minister has highlighted this, and it has been shown in actual fact. We're not going to go too much into that right now because that's not our focus. But generally, right now, we are focusing on the topics of saving lives on multiple levels. And so the topic tonight is focused on saving our sisters' lives so that we as a collective can be saved. And so tonight's program, we have a focus on 2 ministries. Sister Kalila or Sister Michelle, if you could please
absolutely
bring that up so we can highlight these ministries. We are focusing saving lives through the 9 ministries that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan introduced to us. We're first focusing on the Ministry of Health and Human Services, which is responsible for the health and well-being of the members of the Nation of Islam, registered and non-registered alike, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, as individuals, families, and communities. Health is defined as that state of being of the individual and his family and community that is fulfillment of the ultimate perfection that is the intention of the Creator. The other ministry that we're focusing on here tonight is the Ministry of Spiritual Development. The ministry bears responsibility for assisting the individual member of the community in the process of heeding truth and right guidance. Respect, honor, and obedience to the authority of the Creator in all aspects of life are essential to peace, harmony, freedom, justice, and equality. In the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, self-development is an absolutely essential component of the microcosm of the new world. It is not enough that we grow horizontally through the acquisition of farms, factories, banks, industry, trade, commerce, money, good homes. Horizontal growth alone is death. All dead things are on a horizontal level. Therefore, we must grow vertically, grow in uprightness, or we will be overcome by our horizontal growth. The foundation of the ministry are study and training units designed on the guidance of Allah God to produce self-examination, self-analysis, self-correction, and to quicken in each of us the self-accusing spirit, for it is only when we are awakened morally that we have to face the self-accusing spirit that leads to our resurrection. And so we want to encourage you to see the letter of introduction to the self-improvement, the basis for community development study guides. And this particular one is December 12th, 1986. And to get a real good dose of that course of study, we encourage you to go to any Muhammad mosque or study group in the Nation of Islam any Friday night, as you will not be sorry. You're going to be extremely happy engaging in that kind of study. We encourage you to go and do that. But on that note, who's going to be introducing our sister? Sister Michelle.
Oh, Sister Michelle, you're on mute.
Michelle, you're on mute. You're going to have to get yourself off mute.
There we go.
Now we can hear you now.
Hear me.
You're going to have to start all over again.
I didn't actually start. I was about to start, but thank you. Either way, it's my esteemed pleasure to do the bio of our dear sister. Her name is Sister Crystal Muhammad, and she's been a registered member of the Nation of Islam since 2009 and a client advocate at the Asha Project since 2018. She has worked with survivors of domestic violence, sexual abuse, trafficking, and elder abuse. Wow. Using culturally competent advocacy and services. The ASHA Project was the first culturally competent service provider in the country, established in 1988 by Antonia Drew Van, and provides holistic services to both men and women. The ASHA Project serves survivors of domestic violence with a family-centered approach that takes into account that family is the cornerstone of a nation. So, being that said, if someone can please bring on our sister Crystal Muhammad.
There she is. I was going to do a drum roll.
Love.
How are you, beloved?
I'm well by Allah's grace. I'm very grateful that you all had me on today. Looking forward to the evening.
It's an honor, sis. I mean, the bio speaks for itself.
It's a high honor. I used some of your quotes from, I delivered the Sunday lecture, and I was blessed to do that upon the request of Student Minister Patrick last Sunday. And I used that article that you were quoted in the Final Call newspaper, and the great work that you are doing there in Milwaukee and beyond. Mm-hmm. So I want to thank you, Sister Crystal, and we thank you for coming on to our program here tonight.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. I was going to say, go ahead. I'm sorry, Sister Kalinda.
No. You know, I called Sister Crystal and we talked. She was like, how may I help you? I said, yes, you may. I said, Sister Crystal, due to, I'm paraphrasing, of course. And, I say, due to, what you do and, what you do for, specifically, thank you. Specifically, our women, what will be a great title to present in regards to what you're going to be presenting to us? So we kind of wrestled a little bit with it, but then she threw out a bomb in Gilead. I mean, it was like, what? Oh my God. So the title came directly from Sister Crystal. And not only it came from Sister Crystal, this is something that not only she has studied, she has analyzed, but she is also taught in her city in regards to the crucifixion of the Black woman.
Yes, ma'am.
And when we're thinking about the word crucifixion, the first thought you think of is Jesus, right? It's like the only person I could think about was Jesus being crucified, right? So, Sister Crystal, is it possible? Because I really want to get into and kind of dissect that word crucifixion and why the Black woman is considered being crucified in this day and age. Well, since the beginning of time, but definitely right now in this day and age. Why would we use the term crucified?
Yes, ma'am. Well, before I say anything, I'd like to open up in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, and I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. And just I want to put out there that I would have nothing of value to give or nothing of value to say had it not been for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan standing up and resurrecting the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So I don't want to make anybody think that I have something special, because I do not. I am I'm just trying to, I'm regular. I'm just trying to, be the best student that I can be.
Praise be to Allah.
But praise be to Allah. When you think about crucifixion, we think about the cross being nailed at the hands and at the feet. And the interesting thing about crucifixion, when I studied what crucifixion actually does, it's the reason it's kind of a more prolonged stuff, like kind of a death that people suffer through when they are crucified. What it's designed to do, when they put the hands up and they put the feet down, they're not only immobilizing you, but they want you to put the weight of your body on your chest. So what if you were ever physically crucified, your weight, your own weight is coming down on the heart and coming down on the lungs. So most people end up who die from crucifixion die from cardiac arrest or suffocation.
Right.
And you know, I didn't know that until I really looked it up. I just thought that people just got tired of hanging up there. You know, they died, right? But crucifixion was also used as the most humiliating form of death.
Come on, teach.
And they did it like they made you like a spectacle. You know, they wanted to make you appear. They wanted to embarrass you. Other people come by, throw things at you, throw, you know, waste at you, because it's an embarrassing and dishonorable death. And the reason, like when I did the lecture, and the reason I suggested this is because how Black women are portrayed in the media, how we portray each other sometimes, how our brothers perceive who we are. We're being humiliated, like publicly. We're like at the bottom rung of society. Not that we are, in fact, but that is how people are perceiving us. And that is why so many times when Black women are in spaces and they are in need of service, like and we're going to be talking about this evening, in cases like domestic violence, sexual abuse, we're hardly seen as victims. We're not seen as someone who needs services. We're not seen as someone who needs softness and femininity. So because we're looked at as just that spectacle hanging up to just walk past, something embarrassing and humiliating. And it might seem a little extreme to say that, but in Milwaukee, where I'm from alone, we've had nearly 40 domestic homicide related murders for Black women just this year.
Wow.
And it's been a very terrible year for domestic violence. So and not just domestic violence, of course, we know there's many issues at hand, but you know, it's just it's always a shame to see us portrayed the way that we are.
Sister Crystal, I didn't plan on asking this question, but I teach in the classroom, of course, and I'm in the trenches as a school teacher. I oftentimes hear the language of our young ladies in particular, also the young men. But with the young ladies, they oftentimes refer to themselves as B's and H's and by nasty names. It's like, to what degree is our self-perception and the self-perception of our sisters related to the condition that you are seeing? They didn't put themselves in that condition, but to what degree is that related?
Before you answer that, Brother Tony.
I'm trying to stop you for a second, because I want Sister Crystal hold that question though, and Sister Crystal, if you can try to remember that question. I wanted you to take a step back and tell us what got you interested in taking on this particular work that you're doing, because it's something about this Asha project that you've started since 2018. So I wanted the audience to understand how you got started with that, and then maybe it'll maybe walk you into what Brother Tony question was asking just a few seconds ago.
Yes, ma'am, Sister Michelle. Well, since I joined the mosque, I always wanted to be involved in the community in any way that I could be. And may Allah be forever pleased with our dear sister, Dr. Ava.
Yes.
She was coming to Milwaukee, like right around the time I first got registered. Like it was so exciting because like I had never seen her in person before. I was only seeing her on YouTube, and she would come to Milwaukee, and our student minister here, Student Minister William Muhammad, he was working with Antonia Van, who is the founder of the Asha Project. He was working with Sister Ava, and we put on a few events a couple years in a row about human sex trafficking, because for a while there was like a huge, things go in cycles, right? So there was like a huge like boom in sex trafficking. There were like these things called like, there's like this thing called back pages where people were like, I don't know if y'all have them in y'all cities, but the little red books that people would get. There was like a website that you could go to, and there were so many like little back alleyways to hire prostitutes.
Wow.
Okay. And I use that term kind of loosely, but because I don't like to refer to our sisters as that, even if that's the life they're choosing for themselves.
Right.
But there were women who weren't choosing that for themselves and being kind of forced and funneled into that. So we had a huge campaign to combat sex trafficking. So during this time, I'm just, volunteering, just, how we work in the nation, right? So
Right.
I'm holding security. Then eventually I got to do dignitary protection. And then that's when I kind of got funneled into, meeting Miss Antonia Van. And Brother Sean, I don't know if you all know him. He goes by Gat Turner. So that's what he's mostly known by. But he's actually the associate director at the Asha Project. And he happens to be in the mosque, right? So knowing him, then getting to know her. She saw me holding security for, Sister Ava, and Miss Van just loved Dr. Ava. And to make a long story short, when a position finally opened up, and there was an availability for me to go work at the Asha Project, I immediately took it because with nonprofit organizations, there's sometimes it takes a while to get hired, because I always wanted to like work in that field, but there wasn't really an opportunity until there was one. So as soon as just playing off of the campaigns we ran with Dr. Ava, with the Asha Project, it was known as Asha Family Services then. And then up until the point I got hired, it was kind of like something I wanted to do, but never really had an end. Because the other thing is, before COVID, it was actually super hard to get into advocacy work unless you had a bachelor's degree, master's degree. Like they want all these degrees, but they don't pay a lot, right?
I'll drink to that.
Yeah, they want all the degrees, but they don't want to pay you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that
There's
was
the
kind
social
of
work.
yeah. They want you to do all this work, but they don't want to give you anything. But I'll tell you this: the Asha Project is not like that at all. But which is why it took a little longer for me to kind of get in. And also I didn't want to work for any of the other agencies. Like I'm like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm working for Black people. Okay, that's what I want to do. Otherwise, I'm not gonna let nobody underpay me for this kind of work.
That's right.
So that's kind of how that came about.
Oh, well, wonderful, wonderful. Now, Brother Tony, if you did not forget that question.
I don't remember. Well, I think I'll paraphrase it. It's just in your experience, Sister Crystal, and just the amazing work that you do, because we have to resurrect the condition of our people. To what degree is the language that our young ladies use, and really in truth, our people use, not just the women, but also the men, related to the way that we perceive ourselves, the way we treat ourselves, and the way that we treat one another? And how do we, in your experience, how not just how do we get us out, but from your own personal experience, what success stories do you have in getting us to change our condition. Just first of all, looking at ourselves, just in what we put up with, what we allow in our lives, because we have this misperception of self.
Okay,
I hope I'm being a little clear, at least a little bit.
yes, I think that is a big question. Well, first, I would say that we all know that words have power.
Come on, teach.
And language is the thing that separates us from beasts, right? It's language is the thing that makes, not the thing, but it's one of the things that make human beings human, right? Because there's no, you're not going to find another animal actually using language the way that we do.
That's right.
And when we use words in a way that harms us and harms others, then it's easier to kind of, go through a cycle of, well, if I can call you the B word, then maybe if you are B word, then you're not worthy to protect. So if you're not worthy to protect, that means I can hit you. I can say this to you. I can use you for this. So, I mean, words are really powerful. And I think that it's interesting because just hearing in the way, I mean, when we refer to ourselves that, because we know that in Dianetics we clear words. Like, I'm not an auditor or anything, but just knowing what I know of the study, we clear words, like every little word. And it's crazy when you start clearing words, like the word like the and is, you didn't even know you didn't know what it meant, right?
Right.
And a lot of people are just using these words, not really knowing what these words really mean. But the charge is all the same. So I think that language is important in how we refer to each other and even in how we refer to ourselves. Now, Brother Tony, were you asking for a success story?
Of helping people come out of the condition.
Okay. Now, that's good. I'm gonna tell you, that's like a tricky question, and let me tell you why.
Come on.
When the work that we do, success looks different for everyone. Okay, success for me don't look like that for Sister Keisha.
Right.
And I hate to say it like this. Now, I'm gonna be 1000% honest with you. A full success story to me is pulling a sister in, getting her processing registered, and away from that 1000% completely. Okay, that's success to me. But that's not what it looks like for another sister coming through our office. The majority of the sisters that we deal with are Christian. So I will say that. And even though, like, when I go into the office and I deal with clients, I'm typically dressed in a garment and headpiece. So the conversation is always open in there. But oftentimes these sisters that we're dealing with are on such a level of living, they're barely surviving. Okay, so if a sister is coming in, I mean, there are sisters who come in who are dealing with things like they don't even have tissue and soap in their homes, and they got like 5 babies, and they can't get them to school now because baby daddy decided he's not gonna help this month, or she decided it's time to leave him, and she's like completely destitute, completely homeless. So what success looks like for a sister like that is, do I have food in my house? Am I still getting hit? And are my children safe? Like that's all they want at the point that they come to us, right? And in that case, we have many sisters that we end up helping all the way to the finish line, where she is like, okay, I'm not ever going to deal with a man like that again. I have a job now. I have I have my children to take care of. I have my own apartment. She's straight. Now, I'm not saying that I think it, but it really doesn't matter what I think about what she should be doing. It because the approach that we take at the Asha Project is a you formulate your healing. We're not going to tell anyone how to heal and how and like how to move forward. So I can give you a story of a sister who had a partner who was on heroin, and his abuse wasn't like he wasn't hitting anyone or anything like that, but his abuse was verbal, and I'm gonna take all the money out and then show up and you gonna make me, and I'm gonna stay here, you won't fight against me. And they had like 4 children. Well, we were able to get him some drug rehabilitation because we do serve the men. Now, I don't work with the men. Brother Sean would work with the men, right? So we were able to get him some drug rehabilitation, get him some resources to go to work, right? And we were able to get the sister some health care for her children, house to live in, and income coming in, so that because she was pregnant when she came to us. So we were able to give her like resources, like we have other resources that can help sisters who are pregnant and expecting or already have little people. So we were able to get her settled. Now, her and the man there, and she won't let him come live there. So I think that's really good success for her. Like he doesn't even know where she is. Like he's not allowed in the house in that way, but they have a more healthy relationship than they did before, to raise the children together. And for her, like she told me, like, you know, Sister Crystal, because that's how I introduce myself to them, or they'll call me Miss Crystal, whichever one they want to. They'll say, "Oh, thank you so much." You know, so she's like, "Thank you so much. I finally feel like I'm settled now and I can relax." So at that point, until she's ready to move on to the next level, and I still keep in contact with her, but until she's ready to move on to the next level, like usually when I get them to that point, then I say, "Okay, why don't you come to the mosque? I'm teaching this, you know, Sunday." You know, I wait to get them settled, and then we start trying to move forward. But success for our people out in the street looks a little different. So when we're working with them, it's a process. We have to be really, really patient. That's what I kind of learned. I hope that answered the question, Brother Tony.
No, that was a beautiful, beautiful answer to the question. And I know it'll segue to some more questions.
Right.
All I can say is, oh Allah, oh Allah.
I was only gonna say it sounds like a triage center, really. You know, people coming in, you're triaging, you're bandaging, and you know, trying to get them to, you know, be able to sustain themselves, you know, and send them back out, and hopefully, right, that they'll stay stable so that they don't have to come back.
Right.
But I mean, I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking to myself, triage, because you know, there's so many layers, right, that happens to a person before they even get to that point, yes, right, where you're able to reach out or even have something where they can say, "Oh, this the Asha Project, or this is this group here, or these counselors are here to help us." But as I'm hearing you, that's what it sounds like, and my mind always goes to kind of our teaching this, right? It's like we got to grab a hold, right, of the women, and really the younger we can grab them, the better outcome that we know that they'll have as they're gradually, you know, getting older and becoming women. Because we know that a lot of what's happening in our communities is unfortunately somewhat generational, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, unfortunately, you know, we're in a society right now where we know that the Black man is being torn in so many different directions. If it's not drugs,
right,
it's theft. It's not theft. It's they're in jail. I mean, it just the multiples of things that are happening to rip him apart, to make sure that he's not producing in any form or fashion. But
right,
I just, not a question right now, but I'm just thinking to myself that, man, what you guys are doing, it's like you're in the ER and you're just triaging,
yes,
individuals as you're coming across them, trying to get them to, you know what I mean, to patch them up, right? We know that they need the doctor. That's the mosh. We know they need to come on to their regular physician. Yes. That's where they can get some help. But in the meantime, the Asha Project, what you all are doing is helping to triage our people and then hopefully get them the help that they need to maybe get them back on track. But anyway.
Yes, ma'am, Sister Michelle. I just would like to because you're absolutely right. And I don't and I'm sure you all are familiar, and maybe if our listeners are not, if you have a chance, look up in Google the hierarchy of needs. It's like a
Maslow's
yeah,
hierarchy.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And it's like, look, I'm not trying to get us into, other people's psychological definitions or anything, but there's truth to what he said, because right at the bottom, his whole idea is that you can't even reach to the top of the pyramid of self-actualization,
Right.
until you do everything that builds up to it. And right at the bottom of that pyramid, it's physiological needs. So it goes, I'll just say this, it goes physiological needs, safety, love and belonging, self-esteem, then self-actualization is at the top. And when our people are coming into the Asha Project, like Sister Michelle described it beautifully, like a triage in the ER. You're not going there to get your cancer treatments in the ER, right? You going there, if you broke your arm, you need to get a cast on it. Then you go to your doctor for your follow-up, right?
Right.
So that's what we do. We're like the triage. And a lot of our sisters and brothers who are coming there, they don't even have their physiological needs met. Like they literally are without food, clean water. And Milwaukee has a huge issue with lead in the water. So there's like issues of clean water. And then on top of that, there's no the safety needs aren't being met. So imagine you don't have enough, food to feed your babies. You don't even have the soap and hygiene products to keep yourself clean. And on top of that, you're not safe. We can't even offer the main doctor until we like, okay, let's get you safe.
Let's cover base one right here.
Yeah, that's it. So
Minister Ava talked about that
mm-hmm.
a lot, right? Because it's basic. You can't you can't think about anything else because you're trying to figure out how you're gonna eat, where you're gonna live, where the basics, let alone trying to, I'm gonna own my own business.
That many of us take for granted, Sister Michelle.
Right.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about statistics in regards to our women and the age of abuse, the age of victimization, the mindset of one when she is not fully developed in the mind and is vulnerable to anything that can raise a curiosity, where now there is a idea of want, but that's not the need that one needs at that moment. Want to go to statistics in regards to what age, Sister Crystal, have you endured when women have, and I know this can be various ages, but I'm dealing with the fact of, because we have ages to where it's, circumstances, when you're a child and your mom is responsible for putting you in certain positions in your life to where you're now carrying that burden in life, to where now your mom has put you in this situation to where prostitution is the meal of the day, to when you turn into a certain age, all you know is prostitution. So you deal with that part of life, and then that barrier of how you break something that always been dormant in your life. Can we go into ages that you see in this in your program, and how do you deal with those ages and the mindsets of those?
Yes, ma'am. That's a really good question. And it's a little harder to answer than you think.
I know, I understand. That's why it took me a long time to answer it, because it's you dealing with
Yeah.
stats, and then you're dealing
Yeah.
with mindsets, and then you're dealing with age in regards to the condition that was given to them. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No, it does. I would say it depends on the type of victimization we're talking about.
Okay.
So when we're talking human sex trafficking, the majority of the clients that I see are under the age of 25. The majority.
Okay.
And most of them got started when they were right around 12, 13, that kind of age. And you did mention something which is really interesting, because it's almost, we have this idea of, like, when we think of trafficking, it's like this huge scary man in a van, or now, snatching up somebody
In the alleyway.
Yeah.
Look at too much TV. Right.
Yes.
Right.
I'm not saying that doesn't happen.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely, but that's not the majority of people, right? Now there's this new trend going on social media saying that someone in Walmart is going to come up to you, make you smell something, knock you out, and steal you away.
Right.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying if somebody is looking for someone to traffic, this is how they typically do it. They find a young baby out of foster care, or a young abused girl who is looking for love, who is looking for acceptance, and they groom them. That's literally what they do. Like, if we're talking about when men start to get involved in trafficking, is to groom, right? Typically, believe it or not everyone, but most of the traffickers that we've dealt with in Milwaukee have been women, believe it or not.
And that makes sense, because they're acting like the guardian,
like a mother figure.
Yeah.
Or like someone, like an auntie or something.
Yeah. So I had one client who I can think of. Let's call her. We're just gonna use the name Keisha. I've never had a client named Keisha before. We're gonna just use the name Keisha. So this sister told me that her mother gave her up at around 12, I believe it was. She went to live with her aunt, and her aunt introduced her to that, said, if you stay in here, you better bring in your end of the bills. And what 14-year-old girl can get a job? It's so difficult at that age to work anywhere, because you're a child. There are child labor laws. But, the police will turn their eye if they see a girl out there doing that, right? So, and by the time she made it to us, she was about 25. So she'd been doing that all her life. That's all she knew how to do. But she was extraordinarily intelligent. I mean, I was looking at her handwriting. Like, she wrote on something. Beautiful handwriting. She has the ability to write poetry. Beautiful. And I'm like looking at her like, I write like a little kindergartner compared to you. So it's like, I'm looking at this like, wow, intelligent young woman, right? But was by circumstance in this really horrible abusive situation, which caused a lot of mental health disturbances and all other things. Now, when we're looking at domestic violence, those ages range a little more wildly, because it's a little less discriminatory. But I will say that the majority of the sisters that we deal with that are dealing with serious domestic violence are above the age of 25, somewhere between 25 and 40, kind of in that age range. My theory around that is that a lot of sisters are looking for companionship now. So they're a little less likely to want to let go than maybe, when you 20 years old and you feel cute and you think you can get any man, before
right.
you have children, it's a little easier to, and I'm not saying that's always the case, but
no, but that makes sense, because we're talking about self-esteem.
Yeah.
Versus somebody, you're forcing somebody to instill self-esteem inside you, which is the man.
Right. And so now we have sisters that are like, okay, well, I need somebody to help me take care of my children So now that makes so when you approach any situation like that out of desperation, because really that's we could go back, Dr. Ava talked about that before, right? You know, you can't approach a situation out of desperation. But at that point, sisters believe that okay, I'm not making ends meet. I got these children. I need a man to come help me take care of these babies. That leaves a woman so open to victimization. I mean, horribly, because you're not at the point now that you putting God at the center. When you don't have God at the center, a man can come in and make himself the center. And if he's the center, especially if he's not a righteous man, a righteous man don't even want to be at the center, right?
Right.
He wants you to have a relationship with God, but
he
a man
be in the center.
yeah,
If he's not righteous. Right.
Yeah, if he want to be at the center of all your stuff,
right.
You know, that's a red flag.
That's right.
Yeah, you know, that's a red flag.
Absolutely.
You know, righteous man don't like that. He want his woman to be intelligent, connected to God in whichever way that is, you know, but sometimes a sister, if she's approaching that, like, I just need this, it leaves her open, and then she's less likely to leave until it gets really bad. So, you know, and then elder abuse is just exactly that, right? Elder abuse. And that's typically family, you know, it's usually like familial abuse, financial abuse. Sometimes it's partner abuse, but usually it's family coming in. So it's kind of, that's why I said it's a little harder to answer, because it depends on what the victimization. And sexual abuse typically are with the children, and we don't work a whole lot with children. We do, but we're mostly with the adults. But typically the children come through as secondary issues. Not issues, but you know, like they come in, like the parent is coming in and they'll be like, oh yeah, by the way, somebody abused my daughter. Like, okay.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of how that breaks down.
Okay. Wow.
Whew. Okay.
I have a question. If
okay,
either you,
this is jump rope, brother Tony.
Right,
go ahead.
I'm gonna quickly answer this question. Ask this question rather, Sister Crystal. In dealing with all the cases that you're dealing with, how has the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has assisted you and helped you to bring resolve and to assist many of these sisters who are in such a horrific condition that are looking to get out?
Yes, sir. Now, I will tell you, everything that I say to the sisters is undergirded by the teachings. Like, I don't care what I'm saying to them, and they may not know. Like, I'm not going to them necessarily saying the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, even though they might get that every now and again.
Right.
Everything I say, it's coming from the teachings. Like everything. So, like, and I'm always careful when I say this. So when I'm doing, sometimes we have to do domestic violence intervention classes. So what'll happen is a sister will go through domestic violence situation and they'll take her children from her, even though she was the one being abused. Okay.
I have seen that happen before.
Yes.
To a close friend of mine.
Oh yeah. And it's like, oh my goodness. Like I'll say this, it's kind of like two-sided, because on one hand, if you do fail to keep your children safe, and you're allowing them to witness all this horrible abuse of you, and then they're being abused on top of it, whether you're doing it or not, something's got to give. But on the other end of that, a lot of the times it is unjustified.
Right.
And it's a part of victimizing Black women. Like instead of saying, oh, sister, you need help, let's help you. They like, oh, your baby was here when he hit you. Okay, we taking the baby. Right. And it's like, oh my God. So it's always a sad situation when it happens, but they have to, as a part of them getting their children back, they have to engage in a domestic violence intervention course. Another advocate does those now, but when I was doing those, I showed clips of the minister. We talked about things that the minister said. We came out of the Bible when it came to like different things. Like, and everyone we talk to, we tailor it to their situation. So I don't just read from a curriculum like, here's A, B, C.
Right.
We don't give them what happened. Tell me what happened. So one sister said that she got her baby taken because her baby's father decided that he was gonna come jump her along with the rest of his cousins.
Mm,
They beat her so bad.
mm,
They knocked out her teeth. And she was like, she had her baby in her arms while they're doing this. This is his child too. And so they stopped beating her. I guess when they heard the sirens getting ready to come. So what she did, she got up. She was very upset because she just got beat. She grabbed a brick and busted his windshield. They took her baby for that.
Oh wow.
So very unjustified, in my opinion. And the reason they took it because the police rolled up and the cousins that
Witness.
hit her and beat her up were recording with their phone. So and now she looks crazy, right? Not the fact that this man really just beat her down. So she's holding her baby in one arm and she's busting the window with the other. And so I was like, oh my goodness.
What Sister Crystal, one thing that comes to mind is that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us that injustice destabilizes the mind.
Absolutely.
And so how can you blame the sister for acting in that way and manner? She's not receiving any form of justice. She's here being abused. Now she's being blamed for the way she's acting and reacting to the situation.
And see, that's the thing. We now, had I been a service provider on scene that day, I would not have made the decision to take her child at that point. I would have made the decision to arrest him. And the crazy thing is, they did not arrest him. So, because the thing is, the police only cares about who's the primary aggressor. They witnessed her being the primary aggressor, so they arrested her. Right. It was completely unjustified. But what we ended up having to do in our class together is we talk, let's go down the pathology of how you ended up here. No matter if you were served an injustice or not, decisions were made, sis. So let's go down the pathology, because there's still, no matter how horrible the thing is. Now we're in study guide 19B right now.
Yes.
And the minister gives us a form of accountability. No matter how much we're just, served an injustice, no matter how much we're victimized, we still have accountability. So me and her, we're going to go through how to overcome emotion into the thinking of God. That's what we finna do. You and me. That's
above the emotion to the thinking of God. That's right.
Because if the correct decisions were made before she ever got to the point where now you in the street, because what if you would have never went outside trying to argue with him?
Teach.
Maybe they would not have had the opportunity, because that's the other thing. Now let's talk about humility. And what does the Bible say? Since you're a Christian, okay, what does the Bible say about humility? And then, because the thing is, there's nothing that we can do so much about the injustice, but I'm gonna help you navigate through it, because I want you to get your children back. And at the end of that, she was very thankful, and I wrote her a glowing recommendation to her PS worker, and she eventually did get her children back. So that's the goal at that point. The goal isn't to because again, like Sister Michelle described it as triage, the goal is to get you back right. After that, we can talk about everything else. We can dismantle the system and all sorts of stuff. But we have to be for real. Like, the only solution is separation. I'm not really interested in trying to right the wrongs that these people is putting up in the air. I do want to right it, don't get me wrong. But when they come into me, it's not about like, let's take this to the Supreme Court. It's like, no, let's get you right. It's like today. So that's how we use the teachings in there. Like, we just, whatever you need, we're gonna pull from the study guide. That's what I do.
You said something that is key. And a lot of times when you are dealing with an unjust society, we're so quick to look at the effect and never dissect the cause. And that's why we're in the condition that we're in right now today, because nobody don't want to look at the cause, because the cause will be a reflection on you.
Yep.
But it's always the effect that we always get caught up in. That's the one that's getting get caught on camera. That's the one that's being ostracized. That's the one that's being on TV. That's the one that's, you know, you see the effect of something, but it's unsolved. Why is unsolved? Because nobody don't want to look at the cause of nothing.
That's right.
Because when you start looking at the cause of nothing, now we're problem solving.
Yeah.
But nobody don't want to deal with the solution. We're so interested in being the problem. We're so interested in being at the bottom and want to stay there because it's comfortable there. It's really comfortable at the bottom, but we don't want to rise above the emotion, like you just said, sister, into the thinking of God. Because why? We want to just be savage, like what Megan Thee Stallion say: savage, classy, bougie, ratchet. That's nothing but the bottom.
Right.
We want to be all of those things, and then now you're saying, "Oh, I'm the victim." Well, you was first savage, classy, bougie, and ratchet, but then now next week you the victim.
Yeah, Sister, Sister Khalil, let me say this. Because even that kind of weaponized language, and before I even say that, I see that if you all see on the Facebook ticker, Antonia Drew Norton, who I still call Miss Van, she's recently been married though, but she is on and watching. She is the founder of the Asha Project, so she is on and watching with us. So I just want to give her a little shout out. But
Yes,
the weaponized hip hop that we even have, as catchy as some of those songs are.
That's right.
That's it.
Because look, that little song, I don't even listen to that song on a regular, but I know the words. Okay,
Deceptive intelligence, Crystal. Come on.
Yeah, it's like I know the words, right? It's like funny for a second when you listen to it, but then when you really start listening to it, it's like, okay, well, maybe it's not so funny, right? But like, I remember when the minister was quoting when he was talking about Martin Luther King, quoting Victor Hugo, and he was saying, you don't blame the one now I'm paraphrasing, you don't blame the one in the darkness, you go to who caused the darkness. We know who is putting these words, because when I was in high school, we never called ourselves savage. That wasn't a word.
Right.
Every generation got their slang now. All
right.
But that's not a word we used. So, now it's like, I'm a savage, I'm this, that, it's all kind of stuff. So now we have these different kind of ways to refer to ourselves. And, but even when we have sisters who are like that, because they all, when they come to us, they they're in a humble state because they're in need.
Right.
So I don't want to beat down on them to, what they was doing before. Of course, we gonna go through the accountability because we have
right. Because I'm all for the accountability.
Yeah, we have to go through the accountability. But let me tell you this: what we talked about in the Final Call article, with if we take the case of Crystal Kaiser, however she got wrapped up into the world of sex trafficking is irrelevant once we get to a point that we at. So with Crystal Kaiser, she was she met this dude living in another city. So we're in Milwaukee, he's in Kenosha. That's about a 40-50 minute ride from here. Okay. And this dude is recording. Now she's underage. So this is taking place when she's like 14, 15, 16. And she is, again, we're talking about grooming. Let's get, let's get young girls who parents, like they're missing, but they're not missed. There's a huge difference. So this young
can we stop there?
Yes, ma'am.
This is good for parents. When you use the term missed, but not missed.
Missing, but not missed.
Missing, but not missed. Yes. Can you expound on that? Because that's key to a lot of overworked parents that will be able to, okay, I can call my daughter on the phone. I can text her. She can respond back. I might not see her in about 2 or 3 weeks, but if I text her and she responds, oh, it's okay because I just received a text from her. So that will be in the mindset of, no, I don't have to see her. but I can communicate with her, because this is the common age now with parents that, okay, she good, she's doing this, she's doing that, she's with a girl, she's doing this. I can't control her, but if I want to get in contact with her, I can text her. Can you kind of, can we stop right there and just kind of talk about that?
Sister Kalila, I would say that is like a really nice, that's like settling on the best part. Let me tell you something. Because when we're talking about missing but not missed, these are because when we talk about
hey, this is the look, this is a Save Lives show. We gotta tear it up and dig in.
So let me be for real then. These women, these mothers that are having these, girls that are missing but not missed, they're not sending their babies messages. They're not working. They're not, they have, they're usually suffering with mental health issues, suffering from drug issues, or just simply didn't want to be a mother in the first place. And I hate to be like that, but just seeing what I've seen, and it talks about this in the scripture where the mother will put her baby to the side. This is not a matter of, oh, I'm just working long hours trying to provide. The majority of the sisters that's out on the street missing like that are not coming from families like that. Some of them are. The majority of them that I've seen coming through the doors are not. They're always telling me my mother abused me. My mother was the one who sold me. My mother left me with my father, who abused me heavily in every way you can think of. So many different things. So these are usually sisters who, and I'll just tell you this because I never forgot this. I don't even remember her name. But I had to do a class with a particular sister who had to take anger management for beating her daughter up. She had her daughter when she was 13, so she got pregnant at 12. So imagine a 12-year-old getting pregnant. There's a level of abuse going on there, right? Because at 12 you're not consenting for real, not in this day and time. Right. So she had a baby. She didn't want to be a mother. So now this girl is now 13. She's fighting this girl like she is a grown woman. And her daughter ran away, and is living with her girlfriend and her father. And I explained to her, girl, you better go get your daughter.
Right.
Because the next thing you know, your baby is going to be on a poster like, go get your daughter. And I told her, like, she's at huge risk of some sex trafficking, because that's what kind of brews this kind of thing. And this lady told me, and I swear it hurt my heart. I just told her, all right, you done with the class. Here's a very general letter. She has completed the class. There you go. Like and I couldn't believe she said it. So she was like, to be honest with you, I don't really give a F. That's what she told me. She was like, if that B want to be out there doing this, that, and the other, gone and let her. At this point, I really hate her. Wow. And at first I was like, oh, come on, sister, you don't mean that. You upset right now. She was like, oh no, I mean that from the bottom of my soul. And she looked at me dead in my eyeballs. She was like, oh no, I mean that. She was like, when I leave here, I'm not doing anything else about this. But, oh, yes, ma'am. Okay. And there was a little bit more to the conversation, but for the sake of time, this is what I mean by missing but not missed. Now you're not going after your daughter anymore. You're just going to let her be out there. She's 13. Go get her. I don't care if you got to wring her by her hair and drag her back home. Go get her. But she was like, oh, absolutely not. And on one end, I can understand her frustration, but on the other end, the vitriol in which she communicated her disdain. And she was like, yeah, she was like, I didn't want to be a mother anyway. I should have gotten an abortion. Like, this is what she was saying to me. So, and then the sister that I said who was being sold by her aunt, her mother literally signed her off in a way. I don't want to deal with you anymore. These are people who are, and it's not because she was working long hours and just couldn't. No, she said, I'm done with you. So a lot of the times the mothers have to be held accountable for funneling their children into these kind of lifestyles. And ultimately, if we want to even bring it back further, the only reason we're living in time where a mother would do something like that is because we live in among Satan. That's why we do have to, it brings it back to separation, because if we were in a righteous society where women were taken care of, where men were men, these would not be issues. We wouldn't be having this talk show, right? We'd be talking about something completely different. So I'm sorry.
No, you're because it just brought me back to a situation that I experienced with someone personal in my life, and I heard her utter the same words that he's ruining my life. I said, hey, please don't say that anymore. No, for real. He's ruining my life. I cannot do nothing. I cannot get a job. I cannot get this. I cannot get housing. I cannot do anything because he is ruining my life. And I was like, why would you even entertain the thought of somebody who God has given you? To now say that he's ruining the life that also God gave you, and then had the nerve to question God. I don't understand why God is taking me through it. And I'm like, girl, okay, I digress. But I understand, again, like you said, I was on the kindergarten level. But when you, Sister Crystal, put it that way, then it brought me back to a reality that I experienced myself, and I get it. Whew. All right. I know somebody else have other questions. I
have one last question, so we can start landing this ship. Sister Crystal,
we're landing the plane, Sister Michelle.
Or gearing the ship right to the shore. But
that's right.
What are some steps that would create awareness or signs to prevent women or girls not to be prey to these types of issues, abuses that we may encounter because of, how we grew up, what we were around, certain circumstances, like the mother giving the child away or leaving the child in a situation that creates all these things? What types of steps, again, to create awareness or signs to prevent these things? What would you share with the audience?
Well, if we were talking about trafficking in particular, I would say that it's really like the signs are, or how you prevent it would be parents fulfilling the need of the child, right? Go back to that hierarchy of needs again. The parent has to fulfill the needs, and and that goes all the way up to self-esteem and self-actualization, because children don't know themselves. When we were teenagers, we thought we knew who we were, right? And then we got a little older and realized how stupid we were. So, when a parent, or especially a mother, because that is the first God we know is mother,
right?
And when that mother is in a position where she can be what her child needs until that child can form its own relationship with God, then can't no man come in and be like, let me fulfill you. Right. Of course, there's at a certain point when we become adults and we're seeking companionship, which is completely normal. There's a portion of yourself that you need fulfilled by your partner and something that you fulfill in them. But I mean, that's in a righteous way, and the reality is, when we're talking about that kind of thing, that's how we protect. That's part of the way we protect our girls. But the other part of that is coming down on these men's neck who are patronizing little girls. Like be for real. Miss Antonia Drew Norton just commented, I just seen on the side here, the victimizations won't stop until men says it stopped and acts on it, which is absolutely correct. Right. Because what we look like saying, don't sell your body, but there's somebody out there willing to pay for it, and you don't have no food to eat.
You don't
Right.
have no food.
You know, this is easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, this means nothing to me. So we have to teach the value. We have to teach what this means. So really honing in on that self-esteem, how important it is to maintain your chastity, not allowing somebody else to come fill those needs for our children. And the same thing goes with abuse, because domestic abuse is a different type of thing, but not so different. And because right at the beginning, and here's some of the warning signs that even we as MGT in the nation have to be aware of if we're single and looking.
Oof.
You know, someone trying, you get into a courtship, now all of a sudden he don't want you to go to the mosque no more, right? You know, like, you don't gotta go to Friday night. Why you ain't gotta go
And that courtship.
Yes. You know,
Immediately.
you know, why you always on the phone with sister so-and-so? Why you always talking to your mother? You know, or like trying to isolate you, right? Why
Trying to control you.
Right, sister, come move to my city. You know what I mean? I'll take care of you. He give you all the beautiful things. Now, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong. I know
I gotta get I gotta get my red flag. I don't see. I gotta find my red flag. No, I got a yellow one. This is
yes, a flag on the plate. Right? But, you know, and there have been successful courts. I'm just using this kind of
no, because I have been one, so I get it. I have, but I know what that don't look like either. So.
Yeah, and it's like the real sweet things, or then all of a sudden, another huge red flag is the financial control. Of course, we want the men to do what he do. Don't get me wrong, but there's no reason that if you desire to know, you can't know. You know, keeping you in the dark as a way to isolate you and keep you ignorant to what's going on. You know, now there are times like, I don't, just tell me how much money in the account. I don't care what's due. Just tell me. That's my thing, because I'm irresponsible. Don't trust me with that kind of thing. Just tell me, right? You know, but that's a choice that me and my husband discussed, you know, together, right?
You know how you function together.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah, and
but if a man is making money and is concealing how much he's making purposefully
to keep you in the dark,
right? That is a straight up problem.
It's definitely a red flag. And then you have issues like emotional abuse. Sister, you a little bit too fat for me, you know, or you know, I don't like the way your hair look. And now the thing is, and they always want, you know, somebody want to kind of mask truth, you know, with abuse, right? So okay, you know, and it's like the emotional abuse. Now I'm controlling the finances. I pulled you away from your family so that you don't. Now you're away from your family. You can't get back home without me. So it's and now I took you from the mosque on top of that. So there are, and that's just an example with, you know, using us within the nation.
Very good examples.
But even outside of the nation, I mean, those same things apply. Girl, quit, you know, baby, quit your job. You don't need that. And then you know, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you know, I'm all for stay-at-home mothers. Don't get me wrong, but it's just the way it's a matter of the way things are done, right? It's just we have to.
So that in the courtship process, if it's done right, there's a discussion. This is what, you know, if the brother says, well, I prefer my wife to stay home and work from home, but if the sister says, well, I like to go out and do this kind of work that's going to take me away from the home, if there's a disagreement about that, then you just part ways. You don't try to take a block and try to fit it into a circular, you know, hole, if you will, or vice versa.
Right.
That don't work.
Yeah, you come to that agreement. And see, and here's the other thing. Men who are trying to isolate, but then they don't have friends that are holding them accountable, you know, and in the mosque, you have an FOY class. And it's like, brother, you're
not going to class. Why aren't you going to class?
Exactly. So in our case,
to your class, brother.
You know, if somebody find out you beating on your wife in the nation, you know, maybe, you know, a few things happen. So you know, we'll just leave it at that. You know,
blank, because blank.
Yeah, we don't tolerate that kind of thing.
At
you
all.
know, those kind of abuses. But the physical abuse ain't, isn't just the only thing. That's why I brought up the financial abuse, the emotional,
The verbal
the
abuse.
verbal
It,
abuse.
it
That
starts off as that, Sister Crystal.
yes, it absolutely. That's why we have to be very mindful. Even and as sisters, we have the minister talked about how a man might have his physical strength, but we have the strength of the tongue, right? Of
Right.
course, and that's why we work with men and women, because a lot of times I'll tell you, when we work with couples, which is kind of rare, but not really. When we do work with couples though, and the only reason I say it's rare is because we have to be careful, because if we try to do a couple therapy type of thing and that
Ooh.
sister say something, he gonna go home, so we have to be really careful when we do those kind of things, even in the nation, especially if it's volatile like that.
Yes.
But sisters can say things, and one of the things I've seen, like, sister, what led to this? Like, when we go down the pathology, well, I called him a BAN
Oh. Oh.
and told him his mama stank.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh. Oh.
All right. So now this is kind of how that fight began. Okay.
Right.
Not to say that it's justified.
Sure.
But where a man might physically abuse, women can be really verbally abusive. And I've seen that. It was very interesting. I had a client who came in and she said she was being abused. And once we got them together, it turned out that she was the primary abuser. She was absolutely,
Mm.
she controlled this man because he was ill. So she took his money, controlled his money,
Mm.
really abused him. And because
Mm.
he wasn't taking it, like, I'm a man, you ain't gonna do me like that.
Right.
And now everything is escalating,
And,
so
Sister Crystal,
yeah.
when those kind of circumstances take place, we have to take a look at ourselves in the mirror. Whoever is doing the abusing, whoever is mistreating the other person. Well, there, Sister Kalila mentioned earlier about valence. Who's doing the abusing here? Is who's doing the talking? Whose voice are you listening to
Mm-hmm.
when you're cussing and calling the other person out of their names and abusing them? You're acting out based on the way that you were treated growing up,
Right.
or somebody else treated you that way. Now you're becoming the abuser yourself.
Absolutely.
When the in your experience, and you were talking about self-improvement, when you take the mirror and you post it up to the other person, is that, do you get a sense of healing at least beginning to take place when they're able to confront themselves?
Absolutely. And it actually keeps them safe. And I'll tell you this: if I can hold that mirror up to the sister and be like, "All right, sister, because here's the thing, we not gonna force a sister like, you got to leave him, otherwise we can't help you. You make the decision, because if anyone has ever dealt with anyone in their family, a friend who is in an abusive situation, nothing you can say that's gonna make them leave. Nothing. Nothing. All you can do is be there for them. All you can do is give them resources, give them advice, but you can't make them. So when we do our safety plans, and I go down the pathology and I say, okay, you let them in the house and then you call them a BAN, sister. All right. You,
Yeah.
this man, and then we go through what we call a danger assessment. We have a list of things, and they don't even know I'm doing it with them, right? I'll go down a list, I ask them a few questions. The majority of the time there's a firearm in the house, which, thank Allah, we don't really have that issue in the nation,
Right.
of firearms in the house, not, at least not a chronic issue. But there's usually a firearm in the house, there's drugs, there's alcohol. You mix those three things, you're not in a good situation. So we go through our danger assessment, and then I'd be like, all right, you, just according to everything you told me here, you got about a 90% chance of being killed in this situation. What do you want to do?
Wow.
And like, I have to hit it like that. And if you like, well, oh, I'm gonna leave him, not, sis, be for real, because what you gonna do when the emotionalism of this meeting dies down,
Right.
is only tonight, when you go to the shelter, but you stand next to somebody who you think got bed bugs, because they'll always say that, you whatever reason you don't want to go through this process anymore. What are you gonna do? So we go through a safety plan, and let's go through the pathology. If you're gonna be with this man, you can't say those triggering words. The ultimate thing here is to get away from this person. But if you're not going to do that, you cannot go in the house hollering and screaming with this person, because
Right.
you will lose. And the other thing I tell sisters, and believe it or not, if a woman has a gun, like a sister, because I've had women say, well, I got my CCW, I'm strapped, da da da, and I'm like, okay, well, now that you told me that, your chances of being murdered are even higher. Because typically what happens, a woman is going to pull that gun and not use it.
And not using
And
it.
not use it. And as soon as that happens, when we look at our sister who did that in Florida, shot the warning shot in her husband, and she went to jail.
Yep.
Right.
Let me
And
tell you
it
something.
just got out a couple of years ago.
Look, and they had to fight for her. Can I tell y'all something? The case I
Yeah.
got this week, she got a case on her right now. She went and got her CCW to defend herself against her abuser. Did a warning shot. Nobody around. She just shot it to see if her gun was working. The shooting detectors in Milwaukee picked it up and they came and arrested her.
Wow.
And they didn't care the reason or nothing. No, y'all hear what I'm saying? So
Yes.
I mean, this is just not a just society, overall.
No.
But I also told her, yeah, but the thing is, there's something happening to like lead this person on to think that there's a chance here. Like, we got to cut ties, because there's that accountability. So once they finally break down and say, when I hear you right,
Right.
like,
There you go. There you go. The door is open. The door is open.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, now tell me what you're gonna do now. So now we can have a real safety plan. So Ms. Van just said she's 500 times more likely to be killed by her own gun.
That's a staggering.
Listen, I could bear witness, child. I wish I could tell you a story on here, but I'll be I can bear witness to that. And the thing is, when you mention the word mirrors, Brother Tony, because I'm one of those type people, I pull it from your jugular. In these cases, there's no mirror. Nobody's not looking at no mirror.
You're not in a state of mind to look at yourself.
Right. So you're pointing the fingers outwards instead of inwards. It's always pointing outwards. You're never going to identify anything that's going on inside. You always going to identify what's going on the outside. And it's easy to do that because it's easy to point the blame versus taking accountability, because that's where the work comes in. That's where the inventory comes in, that you don't want to take inventory for the calls that you made in this situation. So that's when you say you're right. That's when the door, God, dog, at least I got the door open.
Yeah.
Then now you going inside. Now you can go inside and do inventory, but there's no mirrors.
Yes, and look, when we talk about European ideas of feminism,
that's a whole nother issue
in itself. And I cannot, I can't stand the idea. And now I'm going to always be pro woman because I'm a woman,
right?
But I do not like the way the white people have defined what femininity is supposed to be, because what feminism is like to them is I'll say this, what femininity is like that they want us to believe it is, Black people in particular, because they won't accept it for themselves, even though they say it. Sex work should be real work.
Right.
You don't need a man.
Right.
Ever. All men are bad.
Right.
And toxic masculinity is a thing.
Right. And red lipstick.
Oh yeah, and then and there's a whole thing in that. But it's so much
because they're so pale statistically. But anyway.
But no, that's the feminine approach that they use. And again, to add to that, Sister Crystal, it's dealing with the outward. It's never with the inward. Femininity does not start inward. It starts outward with, that society. And the reason being is because they were never taught how to love themselves, because again, their history and how they were taught. And so now coming from an ugly state of being on the outward appearance, now I have to dress up this outer appearance to make somebody look at me first.
Mm-hmm.
It's the look first.
Yeah.
Then the luring, because I'm going to show you everything that I have to lure you here. And now once I'm lured you here, now I have got you, physically, but mentally I have broken you down, because now I got you so caught up to you're ashamed to leave me.
Sister Kalila, if I may, because we're talking about valence here. Yeah, the
Right.
reason why we're messed up is because they're messed up and they messed us up. Because here what we're dealing with is a history. When we're taking a look at Caucasian people and we're taking a look at Western civilization, there's a big confusion throughout its history about the confusion about what male and female relationships should look like, what male identity is supposed to look like, what female identity is supposed to look like. There have been, since the very start, there is a confusion about male and female roles. And so we find that throughout the history. And by no coincidence, we find a rampant, from its inception, a rampant amount of abuse, especially when they were sent to the caves and hillsides of Europe.
Right.
There was an immense amount of abuse there. And today, we take on the same patterns of behavior that they took on, but we really don't. We're here acting out, and we really don't know ourselves, and we don't know that we're acting out in their valence.
Well, that's the key. You just said it. We have lost knowledge of self.
That's right.
So if you don't know who you are, right, then you're a prey to what we've been subjected to, and that's the problem.
Every day.
Hence is how they're able to hurt us in these different directions that leaves us broken. Because if we're broken, right, then we're ineffective, right, to create the future that we know that we need to. We're broken. The children are broken. The man is broken. They ain't gonna worry about us. But once the woman stabilizes herself and becomes recognizable, right, to herself, right, evolving into who she really is, then they know that's a problem. So that's why it's so important at so many various levels. And it's such a hard work that you do, Sister Crystal, because we're so lost. We're so lost. And we know that until we correct every one of us, really we're endangering our own future. We got to grab a hold and recognize that we're not a part of this world. I'll tell you this really quick, because I know we need to start
landing the plane.
Yeah, and I know that Sister Crystal has something to
about the mothership.
Yeah, exactly. Start landing the plane. So, but I want to say this. I want to make this point: is that because we are our people, right? Because we got other cultures that come in, and these different types of things that we're talking about, right, happen in different places all over the world amongst the poor, right? It's usually poor that have not had the opportunity to get educated. But the thing is, with us, we don't even have, right, those that are outside, because I'm gonna move us outside of the nation, right? Outside of the nation of Islam, we suffer, unfortunately, to what the reality is of the white man's world, the European way that they have created, right, as our culture. And it's not our culture, but we've adapted it. We've taken it on, right? And this is where we're having the problem, because that's where the disconnect is. You're talking about loss of knowledge. That's the problem. We're here and we have lost ourselves. We don't even know who we are. And so this is how they get in, and they start to desecrate us and ruin us. And why is it that our women are functioning at such a low level? Why? Right? And why is it not the same that's happening in these other races that are happening? And I'm talking about outside of the black, brown, and yellow, right? But we see it. But that's the point I'm trying to make, is that we're so disconnected. This is a huge topic, and I don't know how we're going to solve it. But I will tell Sister Chris, and I will let you kind of wrap this up, but this is it bothers me because it's like you're trying to figure out this puzzle that just keep, you know how you just keep trying to fit in the pieces to try to solve it, and every time you figure out you're getting closer, something else comes up and something else comes up, and then you're just trying to solve it, but it's really a sad scenario of where our people are because we lost our way.
Yeah,
And
well, the puzzle is easy. They stole in order for the puzzle to be solved, the pieces have to be there, and the pieces have been stolen from us.
oh,
But we gonna,
Let,
but we,
let me. Can I segue
no,
into a
Sister
commercial?
Crystal had
No, yeah,
something
yeah,
to
yeah.
say, brother.
Afterwards, I'm gonna segue into a commercial. Please, Sister Crystal.
Okay.
We go off on this topic forever.
I know, and I'll just say this. I know we got to wrap it up, but you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Satan's last trick would be his woman, and he's using his woman to make us question what our identity is supposed to be. What we should be doing. It is even getting us to a point where we vehemently reject the solution. We have the solution, really, but we're in a sense rejecting that. But that is why the Asha Project is so important to our community and really should be replicated nationwide because we are culturally specific. And because of that, we focus on family. We are not trying to separate the male and the female. We are not even here, even though we are dealing with a lot of victimization of our women coming from our men. We don't ever just throw our men away. Never do we do that. And we're here. We even offer batterers intervention for the men. So if you are in a situation where you don't have the skill to solve issues in your home without using violence, come to the class that a man is conducting and we will help you. And Brother Sean does that, and he uses the teachings all throughout there. White men are coming to it, black men are coming to it, everyone is coming to it. So we have those services, and that's why we need black people helping black people, because if you leave it to white folks, you don't have to let any man control you. You don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. So and in a righteous society, and I'm going to tell you this, that there does control has to be reinstituted in our community at every corner. This is an unpopular opinion because when you're dealing, because on one end, control in the wrong hands can lead to abuse. We just talked about it.
Of course.
But if righteous people are involved in that control, then we can make sure that, okay, if a man is in here beating on you, we can handle him. But that also means we're going to hold you accountable if you take him back. Right. Because the thing is, all of us as a people have been completely out of control because everything is justified in this nation except the right thing. And we know this. And control has to be reinstituted. And that's why we work with black men, because we know our sisters don't want to leave our men.
Right.
No matter how bad things get, the majority of us is staying, okay? And so we're not here to break up the family, but we're here to bring the man up back to his position as a righteous authority in his home, but not an abusive one. We want to bring that sister back up to a point where even though we are triage, the whole point is if I'm holding you accountable to what you're doing, because all I can do is hold you accountable, woman to woman, and then the men, they do their thing. But if I can hold you accountable and you can submit, then we can begin the healing process. And I know the solution is simple, but it's hard to do, because the solution is we do have to get away from these people, because we are going to keep getting re-traumatized at every turn. But while we're here, all we can really do and all we have to continue to do is to not judge our people. I just want to leave us with this. I know we said some harsh things. They're not really harsh. They're the truth. And I don't ever want to communicate anything in a negative light, because even the worst of my clients, I love dearly. I really
Sure.
do. And everybody that comes through the door, we approach with a letter of love. No matter what they've done, no matter what they're going to do,
Right.
we love them anyway. And we always try to give the love that we want that the minister gives us on a daily.
Sure.
We want to give to them. So no matter how bad our men have been, no matter how bad some of our women have been, we love them anyway. And that's what we do. That's why when they come in, we don't want them to feel like there's anti-blackness going on.
Right.
There's no anti-blackness in our curriculums. There's no anti-blackness in our safety planning. We ensure that they are loved. If they don't get nothing else from us, they know we was for real up in there. So I'll just
Sister Crystal, can I sum it up with a quote by Student Minister William, who is the student minister in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Muhammad Mosque number 3. He says, the beauty of the Asha Project and what separates them from other agencies is that they work with men and women and they try to bring about reconciliation. And that's what it's about. And I love Student Minister William. You have an awesome student minister there in Milwaukee.
Absolutely, yes.
And you have a question there.
There is another question. Let me pull it up right over here. Sister Maya, she lives here in Miami, of course. She's asking the question, are you located in Miami? And we know the answer to that, but is there going to be an expansion to the Asha Project sometime in the near future? If you could answer the question.
Well, I can't answer the expansion portion, but I think it should be. But we are located in Milwaukee. Our office is right in the middle of the hood, just where we like it. But we serve all of our people all over the city. But we are in Milwaukee now. Sister Maya, you can inbox me privately if you need to. But I will say this, that there are resources that we can connect you with all over. You can contact the the National Domestic Violence Hotline. You can text it or you can call it, and they will find you resources in your city. You can even ask them for culturally specific programming, because even though we were the first culturally specific program in the nation, we're not the only one anymore. Like there are other ones popping up. We even have a Muslim Women's Coalition here. So they're like popping up and they're getting more specialized all over the nation. So we're not the only one anymore. So yep, and I see we put it right here, Asha Family Services. We have a lot of resources there. You can go into our About tab. If anyone is dealing with something and they need just, there's only so much I can do for Milwaukee if you're all the way in Miami, but I will do my best, my very best. If
Sister
you do
Crystal, I can send your email address, can I?
Absolutely, yes,
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, I just put that in the text as well.
Yeah, that's my personal email, and I'll definitely I look at my email every single day, so it won't go it will not go unanswered. Inshallah, as long as I get it. But the Asha Family Service, you can use our Contact Us tab there too. We respond there. You can find us on Instagram, on Facebook. But if you do want to get in contact with us immediately, use the Contact Us tab on our website. And yeah, you can email me. I'll definitely help.
Well, and it's so beautiful. And then, back to you, Sister Crystal. Just some closing remarks, and then we're gonna segue to our tree of the week.
Well, I would just say my only closing remarks would be that even though we have a lot of bad going on, that throughout all the bad, there's always a silver lining, no matter what. And that if you are in a situation or someone that is in a situation where they're unsafe, there is help available. Please get it. Don't wait until it's too late. And the other thing, I want to just say this: do not be ashamed. The thing that makes, especially if you feel that you're educated, if you feel that you know better, like I should know better, this shouldn't be me. domestic violence does not discriminate. Okay.
Right.
It can happen to anyone. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you got a PhD. It doesn't matter if you a PhD to never finish high school. Domestic violence affects us all the same. Never be ashamed to reach out for help. Okay. So I don't care who you are.
Beautiful
If you're
teaching.
going through it, just reach out. Let someone help you. Let us love you. And then let us get him help. Let us get you help, because we are here to love. So we're not throwing our men away. He might not be right for you, but he can still get help, because all of our people can be redeemed. Like
That's
the
right.
minister said, it
That's the
don't
way we
matter.
have to approach it, sis.
Yes, we are all
Absolutely.
redeemable. That don't mean that you need to redeem them, sister. So don't go
You're
when
right.
y'all drop the call. Don't be like, well,
Teach,
Krista said
teach.
I can redeem them. No, you cannot. You cannot. Let a professional do it. Stay safe, and let us help the men, and let us help the sisters.
Praises be to Allah.
And
Okay.
if we're looking, I'm gonna throw in this commercial. If we're looking for some self-improvement in our lives, visit your local Muhammad mosque in your area or Muhammad study group. Friday night, we're studying self-improvement, the basis for community development. Sister Crystal mentioned study guide 19B. Come and find out what 19B is all about.
Yes,
That's
Learn all
right.
about yourself.
yes.
Tomorrow night at Muhammad Mosque, either number 29, number 3. Sister Kalila, what's Jackson?
66.
82.
82.
Number 3.
And we got numbers all over the place. Come on. Visit your local mosque or study group in the Nation of Islam, whether you're Muslim, Christian, you're still trying to figure it out, you don't know. That's okay. Come and study with us. We're looking to redeem all of our people, because all of our people have the opportunity for redemption no matter what we claim.
Absolutely.
All right. So this segment, Sister
Now,
Crystal, is our tree of the week. Our tree of the week is rooted by saving lives, but also planting the seed of healing. All right.
come on,
So
teach.
here's our tree of the week, tree of the
Here's our tree
week,
of the
tree of the
week.
week, tree of the week. All right.
There's the
So
sweet theme song. Go ahead.
our tree of the week is
The Final Call newspaper, The Abuse of the Female. Get that copy. I don't have that. Hold on a second. Let me get it over here.
okay.
That
So
was
while
that
he's
was 2
getting
weeks
that,
ago.
I normally do the tree
I
of the week.
know that was
Sister
2
Crystal.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
This
I
is
normally
you
do
could
the
probably
tree of the
still
week.
find it
Yes.
at a Muhammad mosque or study group, or you could subscribe to the Final Call newspaper, and you could get this issue right here
Get your digital
in
edition,
digital
everybody.
form.
Digital.
And we've had like a series of cover stories that have been oriented towards having us take a good look at ourselves recently. See this one right here. This is the latest right here, settling our differences. And a lot of the things that we just discussed tonight has to do with settling differences.
Yes,
We're
but
here to go ahead, Sister Kalila.
one that I want him to discuss before he, because you could tell the one that sells it, that be on that be on the corners, that's pushing the Final Call newspaper. You could tell the ones that be just killing the corners with the word, right? You know, those word paper boys, right? So I want him to go
We
into
ain't
the
paper
segment.
boys.
So,
We're
well,
couriers of the word of God, Sister Kalila.
okay. Well, I digress.
I'm
I'm
using the
sorry.
words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Okay.
Go ahead,
You're
sis.
right. All right. Anywho, normally I do the tree of the week, but I want my dear brother to do the tree of the week, because not only is important for me to identify the minister, and I want, the sister, my brother Tony, to have the same energy and charisma that the minister had when he actually did this lecture. But it is in the Final Call newspaper, and I will actually give all the information to everyone in regards to the lecture, and not only the lecture but the edition of the Final Call newspaper. And if you subscribe to the Final Call newspaper, you will be able to pull up this edition as well.
Absolutely.
So, brother Tony, if you can actually read just the segment of the Final Call newspaper, and this is the title, the abuse of the female. And while you're reading that,
what the issue that Sister Crystal was was interviewed in. It was Justice is What We Seek. Black
Okay.
women and girls who kill their abusers in self-defense face prison, not empathy and protection, showing once again America's unbalanced and unequal application of the law. And this is our condition today. When I was on the corner with this particular issue, some of our brothers still have this issue. When you see our the mighty FOI, support them, support them. Just don't let. Okay, there's one of the brothers like, look, even if you got a little bit of change, even if you ain't got no money, all right, roll down your window and talk to our brothers. We're gonna have some final calls that we're gonna be able to give away. Some of us are, all right. What we are especially excited about is when we talk to our people and they're excited about getting a copy of the Final Call newspaper. You need to absolutely read this issue and the one about settling. This is a current edition, settling our differences, because in every edition of the Final Call newspaper it includes articles oriented towards saving lives and making our communities more decent places to live and
Praises
safer
be to
places to live.
Allah. Yes,
So
and I
then
want you to read
it's
the
not,
article that
yeah.
we have on the spreadsheet because that's the article
Oh, let me go
that
to
I
that.
want
Oh,
you
I
to
am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm here getting
I'm
all
trying to
excited
say,
about this. All right, so this particular article here, The Abuse of the Female, which is a lecture by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Look it up on YouTube. You must absolutely, in fact,
I'm
Sister
putting it in
Wheeler,
there right now.
the next time that we aren't able to be on for some reason, I think we should definitely show this lecture by the minister,
Sure. Absolutely.
because it speaks to our condition today. And he says here, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us a law that no man strikes his wife. How are you going to beat the woman that produces your future? Men should be ashamed to abuse women, but most men who beat and bruise women yet want sex with them the same night they beat them. We want to beat women. Sorry, excuse me. Men want to beat women, not me. Men want to beat women like they are inanimate objects, like trees or a lamppost that a dog will lift its legs to. Like women do not have feelings. Do you think after you beat up a woman that she really wants to give herself to you? Why would you want to take pleasure from someone to whom you have given so much pain? We are a sick people, and there is no way we can expect white people to show respect to us and submit to our desires when we are so fractured and broken as a people. But no one wants to address the real problem: respect for authority. Who is the supreme authority of this creation? It is our Creator. Does the Creator have a right to expect from us honor and obedience? Let's give the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan a great round of applause. All praises due to Allah.
And again, as he mentioned, that is actually in the Final Call newspaper, paper, paper,
Paper.
paper. And I also put the link in for the YouTube because it's also a
Right.
lecture that
Please.
he also performed in Houston, Texas. So please, it's a beautiful lecture. He breaks it down, and I guarantee you, you will be so pleased in regards to how the minister not only makes us accountable but heal us at the same time in the same lecture. That's the beauty in our minister. That's the beauty. He points out and identify, but he also brings healing, the cause and the effect and the solution. So I don't have anything else. Back to you, Sister Michelle.
No, I think we're at that moment, and I think that we can slowly start to close this out with some maybe lasting. If I'm not spending, I was about
You
to say,
you're breaking up, Sister
Yeah,
I
you're
just
Michelle.
want to
breaking up
thank
big time.
Sister. I
Ooh,
Uh-oh.
about these
we're
these.
losing her.
Oh no, we lost her.
Okay, we're
We
losing
got
her.
the circling thing.
Okay,
There she goes.
okay, you're back.
She's back.
You're back,
She's
Sister
back.
Michelle.
Sister Michelle, you're
I'm
gonna
back.
have to like rewind and say everything that you just said right now, sis.
Okay,
Oh,
while
no.
you're rewinding,
Well,
here you
there
go.
we go. All right, talk about
All right.
how you can support quality programming here.
Yes. All right. So either way,
Come on.
Seventh Region Coalition, we have a Cash App, everybody.
That's
And
right.
we really, really always appreciate but need your support. We do have things that we're trying to do as far as StreamYard and keeping these levels of communication and the way we stream our communication to you all active. And anything helps. $1, $5, $100, we'll take it all. But we definitely need your support. And we know that again,
Right.
these things that these programs that we put on, we do it out of love, but absolutely can use the support because like StreamYard and these different type of technologies that we use, it costs money, right?
That's right.
But what we're doing and what we're giving, we pray that it weighs much more, right? Than maybe what you might think on a monetary level. So, like I said, either $1, $5, $100, whatever your heart
$1,000.
right. But I'm not gonna
Come on, we ain't gonna stop you.
say that, but we definitely will appreciate all that you do and give when you think about us and think about also all the content that we have on Facebook and in YouTube that has been blessings and teachings and knowledge that
Come on,
really
come
will
on.
help, right? Really will help you and someone that may be in need, right? Just take a little stroll down our page and see all the beautiful things that we've been able to bring to you all. And again, what we're asking for now is just some love, right? By showing us with a little monetary donation and your presence. Those two things, hand in hand, are a very beautiful thing. So if anybody wants to say much more than that, please do. But we just appreciate, right? We're grateful for what we have and what we can give. So like, share, subscribe. Please give what you can. And we thank you for being with us this Thursday evening. I am your moderator, Sister Michelle. I'm so happy to be with all of you. If anybody has any lasting words, I will give everyone else the floor. I am really pleased and happy to be back and looking forward to seeing you all next Thursday.
Woo! I don't have anything else. I want to give another round of applause to Sister Crystal, who's doing.
We're bringing our sister back on sometime.
We got to bring her back for part 2.
Got to.
We got to bring her back for part 2 because again, I think that we just scratched the surface of this. I really think we need to dive in a little bit more. If you don't mind blessing us again with your presence, Sister Crystal.
Absolutely. I'd be honored. I appreciate you all.
Praises be to Allah. Okay, well, I don't know how to say the crew and the crew, and right. We're the 7th region, and we're coming to a theater near you. Okay, all right, and we love you all. And peace and
hear the comment. Sister Crystal, Gap Turner, right there. Great job, Sister Crystal.
All right.
Praise be to God. I got 2 of my bosses watching. I was under pressure. I'm getting hot. Like,
you did a great job. She need a raise. She need a raise.
I was trying to get Brother Sean on the program, but you know he has a commitment on Thursday in the near future, inshallah.
Sure,
we should have both of you on just discussing about the wonderful and awesome work that you all do.
Yes, sir.
Into further discussion. Awesome.
Praises be to Allah.
So, anyway, we're not gonna hold anybody else to this.
No, come on, y'all gonna have to say it tonight. Come on.
The 7th Region Coalition. Bye.